have entered the ThinkBox podcast with Maddie and Mason, where knowledge is power.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun to go deep on a new topic.
And this one is really interesting. We're diving into Dr. Mark Hyman's approach to psoriasis.
Dr. Hyman. He's kind of a big deal, right?
Oh.
Best-selling author, the Ultra Wellness Center.
Oh, yeah. He's worked with some pretty big names, too. Even celebrities and politicians.
Wow. So are we getting the inside scoop on celebrity skincare routines?
Not exactly, although I'm sure they're interesting. But the reason we're focusing on Dr. Hyman today is because of his expertise in functional medicine.
Right, functional medicine.
Yeah.
That's all about finding the root causes of health issues instead of just treating the symptoms.
Exactly. And it takes a really unique perspective on chronic conditions like psoriasis. So we're going to be digging into some excerpts from a document all about his methods.
Sounds intriguing. What's the game plan for today's deep dive?
We're going to uncover Dr. Hyman's step-by-step approach to managing and even potentially reversing psoriasis.
Ooh, reversing psoriasis. That's a bold claim.
It is. But Dr. Hyman's approach is all about getting to the root of the problem. So get ready for some surprising dietary recommendations.
I'm all ears. I love talking about food.
Me too. And we'll be exploring the world of targeted supplements.
Supplements, always a hot topic.
Definitely. And we're going to get into some fascinating insights about how toxins impact psoriasis.
Toxins, that's something I think we all need to be more aware of.
I agree. So let's dive in. One of the most interesting things about Dr. Hyman's approach is that he sees psoriasis as a sign of something deeper going on in the body.
So it's not just a skin issue.
Right. It's like our skin is trying to tell us something's up.
Like a warning sign.
Exactly. And that's why he doesn't just focus on topical treatments. He wants to figure out what's causing the problem in the first place.
Makes sense. So where does he start looking for clues?
You guessed it.
The gut.
The gut. Seriously, is there anything the gut isn't connected to these days?
It really does seem like the gut is the answer to everything. But in all seriousness, Dr. Hyman emphasizes the connection between gut health and psoriasis. Okay, I'm curious. How does he explain that link?
Well, he talks a lot about leaky gut.
Leaky gut. That sounds kind of scary.
I know, it sounds a little intense, but it's actually a pretty common issue.
Okay, so what exactly is leaky gut?
Imagine your gut lining as a filter, right? It carefully controls what gets absorbed into your bloodstream.
So the good stuff gets in and the bad stuff stays out.
Right, but when this lining gets damaged, it's like the filter gets holes in it. And suddenly things that shouldn't be passing through are sneaking into your bloodstream.
Good kind of things.
Things like undigested food particles, toxins, bacteria, all sorts of things that can trigger inflammation.
Inflammation. That seems to be the root of so many health problems.
It really is. And that inflammation can show up in a lot of different ways, including as psoriasis.
So leaky gut can lead to inflammation, which can trigger psoriasis flares.
That's the basic idea.
Wow, it's amazing how interconnected everything is.
It really is.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this leaky gut situation?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, Dr. Hyman has a pretty clear plan of attack. He says we need to remove the things that damage the gut.
Okay, so what's on the chopping block?
First up, processed foods.
Oh no, I love my snacks.
I hear you. But those convenient packages are often loaded with things that contribute to inflammation.
Things like refined sugars and artificial sweeteners.
Yep, those are big culprits.
Yeah.
And they can definitely mess with your gut and make psoriasis symptoms worse.
So it's not just about the calories, but the quality of the food we're putting into our bodies.
Exactly. And it's not just processed foods either.
There's more.
Dr. Hyman also recommends avoiding gluten and dairy, especially if you have sensitivities to them.
Oh, interesting. I know a lot of people who've seen improvements by cutting those out.
Right. They can trigger inflammation and worsen gut issues, which can then make those psoriasis symptoms flare up.
It's like a domino effect.
Exactly. And this one might surprise you. He also suggests avoiding certain veggies like tomatoes and peppers.
What? Veggies? Why would you say that?
They're called nightshades. And they contain compounds that can be inflammatory for some people, especially those with psoriasis.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to veggies.
Nope. It's all about figuring out what works best for your body.
So we've talked about what to avoid. What does Dr. Hyman want us to eat?
He's all about eating a rainbow of colorful, non-starchy vegetables.
I knew you were going to say veggies.
Of course, veggies are the foundation of a healthy diet, and they're packed with nutrients and antioxidants that help fight inflammation.
Makes sense. So what kind of veggies are we talking about?
Think leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, all the good stuff.
Okay, that sounds doable. What about fruit? Is it a free-for-all?
Not quite. Moderation is key, with fruit, berries, apples, and other low-sugar fruits are great choices.
They're full of antioxidants.
Hmm.
But too much sugar, even natural sugar, can be a problem.
Exactly. It's all about balance.
Got it. What about healthy fats? Aren't those important for skin health?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. Hyman is a huge fan of healthy fats.
So olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, all good.
Yep. Use those for cooking. And add avocados, olives, and nuts to your meals for an extra dose of those good fats.
This is starting to sound like a delicious Mediterranean diet.
It kind of is. And speaking of delicious, what about protein?
Yeah, what does Dr. Hyman recommend for protein?
He says to choose quality sources, grass-fed meats, organic poultry, wild-caught fish.
Especially fish rich in omega-3s.
Yes, like salmon and sardines. Those have amazing anti-inflammatory properties, which can be so helpful for managing psoriasis.
So we're removing the bad stuff, adding in the good stuff, and it sounds like we're not done yet.
We're just getting started. Dr. Hyman is a big believer in targeted supplements.
Okay, let's talk supplements. What's on his list?
One of his top recommendations is omega-3 fatty acid supplements like fish oil.
Fish oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that's good for you. But how much should you take?
He suggests taking 1 to 3 grams daily.
And that helps reduce inflammation.
Exactly.
So omega-3s are a must.
What else?
Vitamin D is another big one.
Vitamin D, isn't that the sunshine vitamin?
Yep. And it's actually more like a hormone than a vitamin. Interesting. So what does it do?
It plays a key role in immune function, and studies show that it can help modulate the immune response, which is important for managing psoriasis.
And how much vitamin D does he recommend?
He usually recommends 2,000 to 5,000 IU daily. But of course, you should always talk to your doctor about the right dosage for you.
Right, because everyone's different.
Exactly. What about probiotics? Have you heard about those?
Probiotics, yeah, those are the good bacteria, right?
Exactly. And they're crucial for gut health.
So how do they help with psoriasis?
Well, remember leaky gut?
When those holes in the gut lining let things through, that shouldn't be there.
Right. Probiotics introduce beneficial bacteria into your gut, which can help balance out the bad bacteria and actually improve gut permeability.
This is like adding reinforcements to the gut's defense system.
Exactly. And that can be really helpful for people with psoriasis.
Makes sense. So probiotics are definitely on the list. What other supplements does he recommend?
He often suggests zinc because it's known to support immune function and skin health.
Okay, zinc's a good one. What else?
And curcumin, the active compound in turmeric.
Turmeric. That's a popular spice these days.
It is. And for good reason, curcumin has potent anti-inflammatory effects.
So it's another weapon in the fight against inflammation.
Exactly.
Wow, we've covered a lot of supplements already.
Yeah.
Are there any others you want to highlight?
2 more that are especially beneficial for gut health. Glutamine and digestive enzymes.
Okay, tell me more about those.
Glutamine is an amino acid that actually helps repair the gut lining.
So it's like patching up those holes.
Exactly. And digestive enzymes help your body break down food more efficiently, so there's less chance of those undigested particles making their way into your bloodstream.
That's clever. So we're tackling the leaky gut issue from all angles.
Exactly. We're removing the bad stuff, adding in the good stuff, and even giving the gut the tools it needs to heal itself.
I love it. It's a very comprehensive approach.
And we're not even done yet.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. We haven't even touched on the role of toxins in triggering psoriasis flares.
Toxins. So it's not just what we're putting in our bodies, but what's around us, too.
You got it. And we're not just talking about heavy metals or pesticides, although those are important to consider.
So what else are we talking about?
Everyday chemicals found in things like household cleaners, personal care products, and even processed foods.
Really? Wow, I never thought about that.
It's easy to overlook, but those chemicals can build up in our bodies and contribute to inflammation.
It's kind of scary. It makes you realize how many potential triggers we're exposed to on a daily basis.
It really does. So Dr. Hyman recommends taking practical steps to reduce exposure.
Like what?
For example, try switching to natural, toxin-free cleaning products and personal care items whenever possible.
Okay, that's a good starting point. What else?
And pay attention to the ingredients in your food. Opt for whole, unprocessed options as much as possible.
That makes sense. It's about being more mindful of what we're putting in and on our bodies.
Exactly. And remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
I love that we don't have to overhaul our entire lives overnight.
Nope. Just start making small, sustainable changes and see how you feel.
So we've covered diet supplements and now toxins. Is there anything else we need to know about Dr. Hyman's approach?
We've covered a lot, but there's still more to explore. We'll be back in just a moment to dive into the next part of Dr. Hyman's fascinating approach to psoriasis.
We're back! and ready to keep digging into Dr. Hyman's approach.
I'm excited to learn more. I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
You're right. There's so much to unpack.
Yeah.
And it's all connected in really fascinating ways.
Before we jumped back in, we were talking about how Dr. Hyman sees psoriasis as a symptom of a deeper imbalance. But what does that actually mean in practical terms?
Well, it means that instead of just treating the skin symptoms, we need to look deeper. We need to figure out what's going on internally that's creating the perfect storm for psoriasis to develop.
So it's not just about slapping on some cream and hoping for the best.
Exactly. It's about getting to the root cause of the problem. And often that leads us right back to the gut.
The gut, again, makes sense, though. We talked about leaky gut earlier. But how do we actually go about healing it?
That's where the dietary changes and supplements we discussed earlier come in.
Like those anti-inflammatory foods.
Right. Those can help soothe the gut and reduce overall inflammation, which is key for managing psoriasis.
And what about supplements?
Supplements like glutamine can actually help repair the gut lining. Think of it like patching up those holes we talked about.
So it's kind of a two-pronged attack. Remove the things that are causing harm and give the gut the building blocks it needs to repair itself.
Precisely. And we also need to remember to address other gut imbalances like yeast overgrowth and SIBO.
Right. We talked about candida overgrowth earlier, but can you remind us what SIBO is and why it matters?
Sure, SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It basically means that there's an excess of bacteria in the small intestine where they're not supposed to be.
And that can cause problems.
Absolutely. It can lead to all sorts of digestive issues like bloating, gas, and diarrhea. But here's the thing, it can also trigger inflammation throughout the body.
And we already know that inflammation is a key driver of psoriasis symptoms.
It's all connected. So Dr. Hyman's approach is really about looking at the whole picture, not just focusing on one specific symptom.
It's about treating the whole person, not just the disease.
Exactly. He recognizes that all these systems in the body are interconnected, and you can't truly address one issue without considering the others.
I love that perspective. It's so empowering.
It is. It's about taking ownership of your health and recognizing that you have more control than you might think.
But I have to admit, sometimes it feels overwhelming. There's so much to consider. Where do you even start?
I hear you. It can definitely feel daunting. But here's the good news. You don't have to do everything at once.
Yeah, that's a relief.
Start by making small, manageable changes. Maybe this week you focus on swapping out processed snacks for fresh fruits and veggies.
Okay, that sounds doable.
Or maybe you commit to taking a short walk every day to get your body moving.
Baby steps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you and gradually incorporating these changes into your life.
And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
Right. There are so many resources available to support you.
Like Dr. Hyman's books and website.
Okay.
And you can always consult with a qualified healthcare professional to get personalized guidance.
Exactly. Having the right support system can make all the difference.
So let's say we start making these changes. What kind of results can we expect to see?
You'll likely find that you're not only improving your psoriasis, but you're also improving your overall health and well-being. You might have more energy, better digestion, and even a clearer mind.
It's like a ripple effect. Those positive changes can impact all areas of our lives.
That's the beauty of this approach. It's not just about treating a symptom, it's about creating a foundation for vibrant health.
And speaking of foundations, we've talked a lot about internal factors like the gut, but I want to shift gears a bit and talk about external factors like toxins.
That's a great transition. Dr. Hyman definitely emphasizes the role of toxins in triggering psoriasis flares.
We touched on this earlier, but can you give us some concrete examples of these everyday toxins and how they might affect someone with psoriasis?
Sure. Let's start with heavy metals like mercury and lead. These guys can be real troublemakers. They can disrupt the immune system and contribute to inflammation throughout the body, including the skin.
And where do we typically find these heavy metals?
Well, mercury is often found in certain types of fish like tuna and swordfish. So being mindful of your seafood choices is important.
Okay. What about lead?
Lead can be present in older homes with lead paint, and it can also leach into drinking water from lead pipes. So it's a good idea to get your water tested if you're concerned.
So making sure our drinking water is clean is crucial.
Definitely. And beyond heavy metals, Dr. Hyman is also concerned about pesticides, herbicides, and other chemicals used in conventional agriculture.
Because those chemicals can end up in our food.
Exactly.
Right.
And when we consume them regularly, they can contribute to inflammation and even disrupt hormonal balance.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what's really in our food.
It's definitely a wake-up call. And it highlights the importance of choosing organic produce whenever possible.
So organic produce is on the list. What else?
Dr. Hyman also points to chemicals found in everyday products, like household cleaners, personal care items, and even cosmetics.
Like what kinds of chemicals?
Things like fragrances, parabens, and phthalates. These are often added to make products smell nice or last longer, but they can have unintended consequences for our health.
Like disrupting hormone function and contributing to inflammation.
Exactly.
It can feel overwhelming to try to avoid all of these potential toxins.
I know. It's impossible to live in a bubble. But there are simple steps we can take to reduce our exposure.
Like choosing organic produce.
And switching to natural cleaning products and personal care items.
So it's about making conscious choices and being aware of the potential impact of these chemicals on our health.
Exactly. And remember, even small changes can make a difference.
This has been so eye-opening. Dr. Hyman's approach is really making me think about the connection between my environment and my health.
I think that's a powerful realization. We have more control over our health than we often think.
It's about taking ownership and making informed choices.
And that's what Dr. Hyman is all about, empowering us to take control of our well-being.
Speaking of taking control, I'm curious to hear more about Dr. Hyman's recommendations for supporting our body's natural detoxification processes.
That's a great question. Our bodies are incredibly intelligent, and they have built-in mechanisms for detoxifying, but sometimes they need a little extra support.
So what can we do to lend a helping hand?
Dr. Hyman recommends a combination of dietary strategies, lifestyle changes, and targeted supplements.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with diet. What kinds of foods does he suggest for enhancing detoxification?
He's a huge fan of cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and Brussels sprouts.
Those are all good ones. What makes them so special?
They're rich in sulfur-containing compounds that support the liver's detoxification pathways.
So it's not just about avoiding toxins, it's about helping our bodies process and eliminate them more efficiently.
You got it.
What other foods does he recommend?
He also suggests incorporating foods like garlic onions and leeks, which also contain those beneficial sulfur compounds.
Okay, those are all delicious and easy to add to meals.
Exactly. And don't forget about berries. They're packed with antioxidants, which help protect against cellular damage caused by toxins.
So berries for dessert.
Sounds good to me. And to keep things moving, he suggests incorporating high-fiber foods like beans, lentils, and whole grains.
Because fiber helps with regularity.
Exactly. Those high-fiber foods help promote regular bowel movements and eliminate waste products more effectively.
So we've got our detox-friendly shopping list ready.
No.
What about lifestyle changes? Are there any specific habits that can support detoxification?
This one might seem obvious, but staying hydrated is crucial.
Drinking plenty of water.
Yep, water helps flush toxins out of the system, so make sure you're drinking enough throughout the day.
Got it. What else?
Dr. Hyman is also a big fan of sweating it out.
Sweating again. Is there anything sweating can't do?
It's pretty amazing. It's a natural and effective way to eliminate toxins through the skin. So whether you prefer a good workout or a relaxing sauna session, make time to sweat regularly.
Okay, we'll add sweating to the list. And last but not least, what about supplements? Are there any specific supplements that Dr. Hyman recommends for detoxification?
He often suggests milk thistle, which is an herb that supports liver function.
Okay, milk thistle. What else?
He also recommends N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. It's an amino acid that helps replenish glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant that plays a key role in detoxification.
So many helpful tools. It's amazing how many different ways we can support our body's natural detox processes.
It really is. And remember, Dr. Hyman's approach is all about taking a holistic perspective. He addresses both the internal and external factors that can contribute to psoriasis and other chronic conditions.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from the gut-skin connection to the importance of reducing toxic burden and supporting the body's natural detoxification pathways.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you. I always find it fascinating to learn about different approaches to health and wellness.
Me too. And while we've covered a ton of information, we're not quite done yet. We'll be back in a moment to wrap up our exploration of Dr. Hyman's approach. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Dr. Hyman's approach to psoriasis.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It really has. We've learned so much about the gut, the immune system, toxins, and so much more.
And how it all connects back to psoriasis.
Exactly. It's amazing how Dr. Hyman is able to connect the dots between all these seemingly unrelated things.
He's like a health detective.
He really is. And he doesn't just give us a list of things to do. He empowers us to understand the why behind his recommendations.
That's what I love about functional medicine. It's not about blindly following orders. It's about becoming an active participant in your own health.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive, what are some key takeaways you think our listeners should remember?
Well, first and foremost, psoriasis is not just a skin issue. It's a sign of deeper imbalances in the body.
It's like our body's way of waving a red flag and saying, hey, something's not quite right here.
Exactly. And the good news is that by addressing those underlying imbalances, we can often see significant improvements in those skin symptoms.
It's not about masking the problem. It's about getting to the root of it.
And that's what Dr. Hyman's approach is all about.
It's so refreshing to hear a different perspective on chronic conditions like psoriasis.
It is. It's a reminder that we have more power than we often think.
Absolutely. And while we focused specifically on psoriasis today, I think the principles of functional medicine can be applied to so many other health concerns.
I completely agree. It's a holistic approach that looks at the whole person, not just the disease.
And it emphasizes the interconnectedness of all the systems in our body.
Exactly. So if you're struggling with any kind of chronic health issue, it might be worth exploring functional medicine.
I think that's great advice. And remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
Don't underestimate the power of those small steps. Whether it's swapping out sugary drinks for water, incorporating more veggies into your meals, or finding ways to manage stress, those little things can add up over time.
This deep dive has been so inspiring. It's given me a whole new perspective on health and wellness.
I'm so glad to hear that. It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Me too. Well, we've reached the end of another deep dive. But before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. If Dr. Hyman believes psoriasis is a sign of deeper imbalances, what other chronic conditions might benefit from this type of functional medicine approach?
That's a great question to ponder. And I encourage everyone listening to keep exploring and keep asking questions.
Because knowledge is power.
Absolutely. The more we understand about our bodies, the better equipped we are to make informed choices about our health.
So true. And with that, we'll say goodbye for now. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and as always, keep those brains buzzing.